All right, so, we love to dig into the more unexpected wine regions, and it looks like today we're going to a place that definitely fits the bill.
Yeah, you could say that.
So we've got a whole stack of articles and info all about this Chapada Diamantina wine region in Brazil.
Sounds intriguing.
Yeah, it is. It really is. So we're going to dive deep into, what makes this place tick, what makes the wines so special, what should people know about it?
Well, just from the initial glance at the material, it seems like this region breaks a lot of the, typical wine region molds.
Right. And that's what I'm kind of excited to get into here. So let's start with the most obvious thing, location.
Yeah, Chapada Diamantina is not exactly known for its vineyards.
Right, exactly. It's known for its natural beauty waterfalls, plateaus, national parks, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, but wine?
Yeah, not really the first thing that comes to mind when you think of Brazil, right?
Right. Exactly. I mean, when you think of wine regions, you usually picture, rolling hills, endless vineyards.
Right, Tuscany, Napa Valley, something like that.
Exactly. Not exactly the Brazilian wilderness.
So how does this unexpected setting actually impact the wines themselves?
Well, that's where the concept of terroir comes in. And I know we talk about terroir a lot, but it's really essential to understanding why Chapada Diamantina is so unique.
Okay, so remind us again, what exactly does terroir mean?
So terroir is basically how the environment, the soil, the climate, the altitude, even the topography, all of that influences the grapes and ultimately the wine's flavor.
Okay.
And Chapada Diamantina's terroir is, well, let's just say it's extreme.
Okay, extreme. How so?
Well, for one, the altitude, we're talking vineyards that are 800 to 1,400 meters above sea level.
Whoa, that's high.
It is very high. And that high altitude means cooler temperatures, intense sunlight, and these really dramatic shifts between day and night temperatures.
So it's not just about where the grapes are grown, it's about how the environment really pushes them to be their best.
Exactly. It's like a natural pressure cooker for the grapes, intensifying those flavors.
And the text mentions something about this high altitude leading to a longer ripening period. So how does that affect the grapes?
Right, so because of the cooler temperatures, the grapes ripen much more slowly and steadily, which leads to, a more balanced acidity and more complex flavors.
So that's part of the reason why these high altitude wines are so sought after.
Exactly. It's all about that balance and complexity.
Okay, now one thing that really jumped out at me from the text was all this talk about microclimates.
Oh yeah, the microclimates are key to understanding the diversity of wines coming from this region.
Because it's not just one type of wine coming out of Chapada Diamantina, right?
No, not at all. It's not like one big homogeneous vineyard. You have all these different elevations, valleys, and varying exposures to sunlight within the region.
So each of those creates a unique microclimate.
Exactly. And those microclimates make it possible to grow a wide variety of grapes that wouldn't normally thrive in the same area.
So it's almost like a bunch of mini wine regions all within one larger region.
Precisely. You got places like Mucugê, which is at over 1,100 meters. Wow. Yeah. And that area is ideal for crisp Sauvignon Blancs and even sparkling wines.
Sparkling wine in Brazil, I never would have thought.
I know, right? It's surprising. But the cooler climate up there helps retain that bright acidity you want in a sparkling wine.
Makes sense. And then the text also mentions Morro do Chapéu.
Ah, yes, Morro do Chapéu. So that area is a bit lower in altitude with warmer temperatures, perfect for both red and white varieties.
So you get a completely different style of wine coming from there.
Exactly. And that's just a small taste of the diversity you find in Chapada Diamantina.
That's incredible. I mean, I'm already getting a sense of just how much there is to discover in this region.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot more to uncover.
And I'm guessing this level of complexity in the wines and all these different microclimates, it didn't just appear overnight, right?
No, you're absolutely right. Chapada Diamantina's winemaking history is actually relatively young.
Really?
Yeah, it's a story of pioneers and risk-takers.
That's interesting. And the text mentions that it started with more like resilient American grape varieties.
Exactly. They needed grapes that could handle the challenging climate, the intense sun, the tropical conditions.
So it was like a trial run, a way to test the waters and see what was possible.
Exactly. It was all about learning how to work with the land and unlocking the secrets of this unique terroir.
And then eventually that led to the introduction of those more, classic European grape varieties like Cabernet Sauvignon and Merlot.
Yes, exactly. In the early 21st century, there was this bold shift towards vinifera grapes.
That seems pretty risky, bringing those classic European grapes into such a different environment.
It was a gamble for sure. Vinifera grapes are known to be a bit finicky.
Right, they like what they like.
Exactly. But the pioneers of Chapada Diamantina saw the region's potential, and they weren't afraid to push the boundaries.
They're like, okay, let's see what happens.
Exactly. And that risk paid off in a big way.
So how did this gamble actually pay off? What makes these Chapada Diamantina wines stand out from the crowd?
Well, for one thing, they started winning awards, both nationally and internationally.
Oh, wow. So they're getting recognition on a global scale.
They are. And more importantly, they captured the unique character of the region in a bottle. It's this fusing of old world techniques applied to a distinctly Brazilian terroir that makes them so compelling.
So it's like the best of both worlds.
Exactly. You get that European influence, but with a Brazilian twist.
Okay, you've definitely piqued my curiosity. Now, if I were to open a bottle of Chapada Diamantina wine right now, what would I actually experience? What would I smell? What would I taste?
Ah, that's the fun part. Let's talk about the sensory adventure that awaits.
Okay, let's do it.
So are you ready for a journey for your taste buds?
I am. I'm all in.
All right, then let's dive into the world of Chapada Diamantina wines.
Perfect. Let's go.
Buckle up.
All right, I'm ready.
So when it comes to Chapada Diamantina wines, one of the first things you'll notice is that vibrant acidity.
Okay, and we touched on that a bit earlier, but remind us again what causes that vibrant acidity and how does it actually affect the taste?
Right, so that acidity is a direct result of the high altitude and those cool nights we talked about. Okay. It gives the wines this refreshing quality, a crispness that makes them incredibly food-friendly.
So we're not talking about those, heavy jammy wines you sometimes find.
No, not at all. These wines are all about balance and elegance. You'll find these bright, pure fruit flavors, whether it's citrus and tropical notes in the whites or, red berries and black fruits in the reds.
It's fascinating how all those elements that we've talked about, the altitude, the soil, the climate, the grape varieties, all of that comes together to create this distinct profile for these wines.
Exactly. It's like a puzzle where all the pieces fit perfectly together.
And we can't forget about the sparkling wines.
Ah, yes, the sparkling wines. Those are a real treat.
So what makes them so special? What sets them apart from sparkling wines from other regions?
Well, it's all about the terroir again. Those same conditions that are ideal for still wines also benefit sparkling wine production. The high altitude and cool climate preserve the acidity in the grapes.
And that's essential for a good sparkling wine.
Absolutely, you want that crisp, refreshing character. And the slow ripening of the grapes at altitude allows those complex aromas and flavors to develop, fully adding another layer of depth to the sparkling wines.
So you're saying those bubbles have some substance behind them. They're not just, all fizz and no flavor.
Precisely. These sparkling wines have a real backbone of flavor, thanks to that unique terroir.
This has really made me think about food pairings. I mean, what are some classic dishes that would go well with these wines?
Oh, the possibilities are endless. That bright acidity and those fresh fruit flavors make Chapada Diamantina wines incredibly versatile.
Okay, but give us some concrete examples. What would you recommend pairing with, say, a Sauvignon Blanc from the region?
Well, a Sauvignon Blanc from Chapada Diamantina with its citrus notes and herbaceousness would be perfect with a fresh seafood ceviche.
Ooh, that sounds delicious.
Right. The wine's acidity would cut through the richness of the fish, while those herbal notes complement the other flavors.
I'm sold. What about the reds? What would you pair with, say, a Merlot?
A medium-bodied Merlot with its soft tannins and red fruit flavors would be wonderful with roasted chicken or grilled pork.
Okay, and if I wanted something a bit bolder?
If you're feeling adventurous, try a spicy Serra with a traditional Brazilian feijoada.
Okay, now I'm really getting hungry. It sounds like there's a Chapada Diamantina wine for every taste and every occasion.
Absolutely. And that's part of what makes this region so exciting. It's not just about replicating traditional styles. It's about forging a new path and creating wines that reflect the unique spirit of this place.
Speaking of place, our sources also mentioned this growing enoturism scene in Chapada Diamantina.
Oh yeah, it's becoming quite the destination for wine lovers.
So let's shift gears a bit and talk about what it's actually like to visit Chapada Diamantina and immerse yourself in this world of wine.
Are you ready for a virtual trip?
I am. Let's go. All right, so we're talking award-winning wines, a unique terroir, and, a whole lot of risk-taking from its winemakers. But it's more than just the grapes themselves, right? It's the people who saw this potential in this place and then brought it to life.
Oh, absolutely. It's definitely a story of, dedication and vision.
Yeah.
You have to imagine those early pioneers looking out at this rugged landscape, and they didn't just see wilderness, they saw, a future filled with vineyards.
Yeah, that must have taken so much courage. What were some of the biggest challenges they faced, trying to establish a wine region in such an unconventional place?
Well, it was a massive undertaking for sure. First, you have the climate. Chapada Diamantina is tropical, but at high altitude. It's a very specific combination.
Right.
So they had to find the right grape varieties that could thrive in those intense conditions.
And that's why they started with those hardy American grapes, right?
Exactly. It was a way to sort of test the waters and see what was possible, to learn how to work with the land before bringing in those more delicate varieties.
Yeah, and through trial and error, they started to really unlock the secrets of this Chapada Diamantina terroir.
Exactly. And that knowledge that they gained, that led to them making the bold decision to introduce those vinifera grapes.
Yeah, those finicky vinifera grapes.
Exactly. And it wasn't just about, trying to replicate European wines. It was about taking those classic varieties and seeing how they would express themselves in this new, unique environment.
So they were really pushing the boundaries of what Brazilian wine could be.
Exactly. And as they honed their skills, they discovered that this unique terroir could produce vinifera wines with incredible depth and complexity.
That's pretty incredible. But I imagine it wasn't just like one person's vision, right? It sounds like there was a lot of collaboration going on in this region.
You're right. It definitely wasn't a solo effort. Universities and research institutions played a crucial role in the development of Chapada Diamantina's wine industry.
Oh, really? How so?
They were analyzing the soil, the climate, all those factors that contribute to terroir. And this helped winemakers make more informed decisions about which grape varieties to plant and how to manage their vineyards.
So it's like a blend of science and art, tradition and innovation.
Exactly. And then you also have organizations like the Chapada Diamantina Wine Producers Association. They're working to promote these wines and ensure sustainable practices in the region.
Oh, wow. So it really is a community effort.
It is. It's a true testament to the power of, shared passion and a belief in the potential of something truly unique.
That's really cool. And that shared passion that you're talking about, I mean, it's evident in the wines themselves, right?
Absolutely. And the fact that they're winning all these awards, that's a reflection of the incredible quality that's coming out of this region.
And, the text goes into a lot of detail about the specific flavors and aromas of these wines. So what makes them so unique from a sensory perspective? Like if I were to taste one of these wines, what would stand out?
Well, we talked about the impact of altitude, but the soil also plays a really key role.
Right.
The dominant soil type in Chapada Diamantina is called ladasol, and it's rich in these things called iron and aluminum oxides.
Okay, but what does that mean for like the actual taste of the wine?
Well, those minerals actually infuse the wines with a distinct character.
Oh, interesting.
Especially in the reds, you'll often find these subtle earthy notes, a hint of minerality that adds complexity and depth.
So it's like the earth itself is lending a unique flavor to the wine.
Exactly. And when you combine that with the influence of the climate, the grape variety, the winemaker's skill, you get this incredible symphony of aromas and flavors.
Yeah, and we talked about that vibrant acidity earlier, and the text also mentions it quite a bit. So how does that acidity factor into the overall taste?
Well, that vibrant acidity is a gift of the high altitude and the cool nights. It gives the wines this refreshing quality, a crispness that makes them incredibly food-friendly.
So we're not talking about those heavy, jammy wines you sometimes find.
No, not at all. These wines are all about balance and elegance. They have bright, pure fruit flavors, whether it's citrus and tropical notes in the whites or red berries and black fruits in the reds.
It's just really fascinating to hear how all these elements come together to create this really distinct profile for these wines. And of course, we can't forget about the sparkling wines.
Of course not. The sparkling wines are a real testament to the quality of the grapes and the skill of the winemakers in Chapada Diamantina.
And what makes these sparkling wines so special?
Well, the same conditions that are ideal for still wines, the high altitude, the cool climate, those also benefit sparkling wine production.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, the cool temperatures help preserve the acidity in the grapes, which is essential for that, crisp, refreshing character you want in a sparkling wine.
Makes sense.
And because the grapes ripen so slowly at altitude, they develop these really complex aromas and flavors that add another layer of depth to the sparkling wines.
So those bubbles have some real substance behind them. It's not just all fizz and no flavor.
Exactly.
This is really making me think about food pairings. What are some like classic dishes that would go well with these wines?
Oh, the possibilities are endless. That bright acidity and those fresh fruit flavors that we talked about, those make Chapada Diamantina wines incredibly versatile.
Okay, but give us some examples. Like what would you recommend pairing with, say, a Sauvignon Blanc from the region?
Well, a Sauvignon Blanc from Chapada Diamantina with its citrus notes and herbaceousness would be perfect with a fresh seafood ceviche. The wine's acidity would cut through the richness of the fish, while those herbal notes complement the other flavors in the dish.
That sounds delicious. What about the reds?
If you're having a medium-body Merlot from Chapada Diamantina with its soft tans and red fruit flavors, that would be wonderful with roasted chicken or grilled pork.
Okay, and if I wanted something a bit bolder?
For a bolder pairing, try a spicy Cerro with a traditional Brazilian feijoada.
Okay, now I'm really getting hungry. It seems like there's a Chapada Diamantina wine for every taste and every occasion.
Absolutely, and that's part of what makes this region so exciting. It's not just about replicating traditional styles. It's about forging a new path and creating wines that reflect the unique spirit of this place.
Speaking of place, our sources also mention the growing no-tourism scene in Chapada Diamantina.
Oh, yeah. It's becoming quite the destination for wine lovers.
So let's shift gears a bit and talk about what it's actually like to visit this region and immerse yourself in this world of wine.
Are you ready for a virtual trip?
Let's go. Okay, so we've covered like the terroir, the pioneers, all those like really unique flavors, but now I want to hear about the experience. Like what's it actually like to visit Chapada Diamantina and, immerse yourself in this world of wine?
It's really special. You're driving through these incredible landscapes, dramatic mountains rising in the distance, and then suddenly you see these vineyards just carved into the hillsides. It's breathtaking.
Okay, you've got my attention. Paint me a picture. What are some of the must-see spots for a wine lover visiting Chapada Diamantina?
Well, you can't miss the town of Lensois. It's this charming little historic town right in the heart of the Chapada Diamantina National Park, cobblestone streets, colonial architecture, and a really vibrant atmosphere.
Oh, wow. So you can combine wine tasting with some, incredible sightseeing.
Oh, absolutely. From Lensois, you can easily access some of the most iconic waterfalls in Brazil, like Cachoeira do Sossego and Cachoeira da
The
Fumaça.
beautiful waterfalls.
Yeah, imagine swimming in these crystal clear pools surrounded by lush vegetation.
That sounds amazing. Now, that's what I call a well-rounded trip. But let's get back to the wine. Which wineries should be at the top of my list?
One that stands out is the UVVA winery in Mucugê. They're true pioneers in the region. They're producing those award-winning wines we talked about. You can tour the vineyards, learn about their winemaking process, and of course do a tasting.
I remember reading about their Chardonnay. It seems to be getting a lot of buzz.
It's a fantastic example of what this region can do with white wines. The high altitude and cool climate help preserve that bright acidity, resulting in a Chardonnay that's crisp, elegant, and full of character.
Okay, UVV is going on the list. Any other wineries I shouldn't miss?
Another one to check out is Viticulture in Morro do Chapéu. Their property is absolutely stunning, and they offer a variety of tours and tastings. They even have a restaurant on site, so you can pair their wines with delicious local cuisine.
I'm sensing a theme here. Amazing wines, stunning scenery, and incredible food. Sounds like the perfect escape.
It really is. And if you're looking for something a bit more intimate, there are also several smaller boutique wineries scattered throughout the region. Each one offers a unique perspective on Chapada Diamantina winemaking.
So whether you're a casual wine enthusiast or a serious connoisseur, there's something for everyone. What about wine-related events? Anything I should try to plan my trip around?
Well, you're in luck. The Chapada Diamantina Wine Festival takes place every year. It's a chance to sample a wide range of wines from different producers, meet the winemakers, and really immerse ourselves in the local wine culture.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they have live music, food pairings, and even some cultural events.
That sounds like a must-do experience. It's amazing how this region has managed to create such a vibrant eno-tourism scene in such a relatively short time.
It's a testament to the passion and dedication of everyone involved, and it's only going to get better from here.
So it's the perfect time to visit before it becomes the next Napa Valley.
Exactly. You'll get that sense of discovery, that feeling of being in on something truly special.
I love that. Well, this has been an incredible deep dive. We've journeyed from the unexpected location and the unique terroir to the pioneers who saw this potential and the incredible sensory experience of the wines themselves. And we even got a glimpse into the future of this region as a world-class wine destination.
Yeah, it's a story that really showcases the power of passionate innovation and, a deep connection to the land. And the best part is this story's still being written.
I don't know about you, but I'm ready to pack my bags and experience it all firsthand. For anyone listening, if you're looking for an adventure that combines stunning natural beauty, incredible wines, and a glimpse into the future of Brazilian winemaking, Chapada Diamantina should be at the top of your list.
I completely agree.
And that concludes our deep dive into the Chapada Diamantina wine region. Until next time, keep exploring, keep discovering, and always keep an open mind and an open palate.